Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're able to join us for our, I guess not lunch and learn, but our webinar today. So today we're going to be covering from page 10 to page 1, your SEO roadmap. So if you have any questions throughout this whole entire call here, feel free to put it in chat. We'll get back to you um, as I'm going through this. So without further ado, kind of start jumping in here. So our agenda for today for the talk here, we're going to talk about kind of the key areas of SEO. Immediately, this includes the need for speed, playing tag, your broken and unbroken links, and managing your gaps, and then the always important creating helpful content. So this next 45 minutes or so, we'll kind of break down to all of these and why they matter and how that can help you get from the top 100 listings for your keywords to that top 10 and ultimately get to that number one spot. So first off, who are we? So we are Digital Stride. As you see, I am John Gallo. So we are a digital marketing agency here located in York, Pennsylvania. We help companies of mainly small and medium-sized businesses with their paid advertising, such as Google ads or Facebook ads, Instagram. We also create websites and promote strategic SEO strategies as well. In addition, we do help other clients, kind of across the board. So we design things, so we help with a whole gamut of things. But our specialty really comes down to this data-driven marketing, understanding the nuances behind the data, and not necessarily just the beauty of marketing and what that stands for. All right. So what does SEO success mean to you? Ultimately, SEO success can mean different people or different to different people. Whether or not that is going to be trying to drive traffic to a helpful content piece, or maybe it's going to be driving revenue over time. Really, SEO can be a whole gamut of uses, or can even be competitor, trying to keep up with competitors or really fight back against them. So defining what SEO means to you and what that success looks like is always going to be step one. No matter what type of marketing you're doing, SEO or paid advertising, knowing what is defining your objectives is going to be key. So that's always kind of the first question you want to ask is what is your goal before we go even further into this. So the SEO keys, these are some of the key metrics that we are looking at when we're looking at SEO. These do kind of go from, ultimately top down. Ultimately, the first kind of step we want to do is just increase the search rankings. We want to be going from number 100, moving upward. When we're doing that, the keywords that you are targeting really should be driving more organic traffic to your site. Then once you have more traffic to your site, you should be looking to decrease your bounce rate. Bounce rate is just really those times where you click on something and you immediately leave. This a lot of times, if you're having this on the organic side, is generally because maybe there's some type of sticking point on your website, or maybe there's just not interesting content that they are interested in per se. Then we have conversion rate, which is going to be those times people create leads, and then ultimately revenue from the organic search. So generally speaking, like I said, we work our way down. So we go from trying to rank higher on Google the whole way down to generating revenue from those organic searches. So depending on your goals, it can be immediately to try and get more and more of it, or it could be to really try to drive just more traffic at first. It really does depend on your goal, but generally speaking, if you're coming in fresh with SEO and kind of understanding what that really means, this is going to be the starting point. You're going to start that very top there, working your way down. If you already have started your SEO journey, it may look a little different to you, but generally speaking, you're trying to look to increase your rankings, and then over time, increase organic traffic, and then increase conversion rates, and so on and so forth. But how do you do this? I mean, one of the key ways that this is done is with the need for speed. How fast a website loads makes a big difference, especially on mobile. I mean, for 1 second in delay, the page load decrease, or sorry, 1 second delay in page load decreases your conversion rates by 7%. I mean, this can be a drastic decrease, especially if you're getting a lot of traffic and a lot of conversions. And as your business continues to scale, that 7% decrease for every second can be astronomical. And it honestly goes up exponentially as well. So if you have a website that is, loading after 6 seconds versus one that's at 3 seconds, that drop off is going to be significantly higher. It's not going to be just incremental for that 6 second load. It's going to be almost zero. I mean, most people do not wait that long to actually load a website. But those first few seconds, that 1 through 3, even there, you're going to see big drop offs in conversions. So ultimately, how do we do this? So these are done through kind of 3 different key metrics. We have the LCP, the FID, and your CLS. What these are is the largest content full paint, your first input delay, and cumulative layout shifts. These are some 3 key metrics that Google and other search engines look for when they are ranking your website. So the LCP, what this is that really that first kind of header. I mean, that's going to be that top part. So those big images, the big videos that you load, that's going to be the LCP. So that largest content full paint really is the entire screen that's going to load initially. How you can improve this, it can be on the more technical side. Some of it is going to be server time. You're going to be looking at like CDNs, which are going to be like Cloudflare, kind of deferring different things like CSS and JavaScript that will ultimately lower the server time that's needed to load your website. But then there's some other kind of easier things. One of them is minimizing the files. So if you have a website that is maybe not the fastest, and you need to increase this LCP number, one way of looking at it is maybe if you have a video as your header, maybe changing that to a static image. That will help decrease the load time, and ultimately will help with like conversions and getting people to the area that they need to fastest. The other key point is going to be modern images, going along the lines of the image side. I mean, modern images are going to be things like WebPs or AVIFs. So they're going to be file types that are generally more compressed and easier to load than a normal JPEG or PNG, especially at that size. So if you have a big image on your header, the modern images will help kind of decrease that load. And then last but not least, we have the lazy load. Lazy load is a way of really just making that it loads first. So you want to prioritize it and make sure that area is loading quickly and being prioritized above other elements. Lazy loading in general, what it means is that it's waiting until the entire page loads, and then it'll start to load those. This is really useful for images and videos that are down the page. So images that you don't need to load right away, you lazy load them. That way it doesn't kind of hold up the largest content full paint from loading, and you have a faster website from that initial get-go. However, doing it in the very top can actually be really detrimental because now the website's kind of waiting for the website to load before it even loads the entire front page, which is kind of is a confusing loop and kind of paradoxical that you can't really load the front page without loading the front header. So it's kind of just gets stuck in a loop, which can be very drastic in decreasing the your score for the LCP. Wrong one. So next one is our FID. This is that first input delay. So a good first input delay is going to be under 100 milliseconds. We're not going to spend really too much time here. This is going to be really more technical side of things. So it's going to be reducing JavaScript execution times, breaking up long tasks, which is going to be the code side, and minimizing third-party scripts. This is something that something like Google Tag Manager is really beneficial at. If you have things like Facebook tags and TikTok pixels and also your Google Analytics and Google Search Console, all those different codes all wrapped into one. It can make it a little more complicated because now you have all these different scripts on your site that are ultimately kind of bogging it down. So if you can bundle them through one area and kind of help minimize the extra code that's needed, it can help ultimately with this first input delay. But like I said, generally speaking, this is a more technical area and something that if you are a business owner or a marketer, looking at it from the perspective of talking to your developer would be a good place to start, in my opinion. All right, cumulative layout shifts. This is an important one, especially on the retail or e-commerce side of things. So point one means that things aren't shifting on the screen when they're not expected to. So for an example, specific images and video dimensions, you can set them to a certain size so they always kind of stay the same instead of having this image that really starts really big and then shifts down to a smaller size, which can ultimately be a detriment to the user, but it also can be harmful for the general experience, but also especially in the shopping side, it can be a real pain. Yeah, I know I have had times where I go to click on something, you click on or go to click on the button, but the button like expands really weird or shifts around, or the image isn't right, and you click on the wrong thing, and it sends you to a whole other page. So it's just a frustrating experience for the user. So ultimately, we want to avoid those type of interactions. Also, along the same lines, we're trying to avoid inserting dynamic content when possible. So things that are pre-populated with the from your server. So this could be things like people's names when they're logged in, things like that. Generally speaking, a lot of times that actually does help the user experience, but it may cause other kind of shifts on the website. You can still provide dynamic content that avoids those shifts. That's ultimately the ideal situation. And then lastly, so using those CSS transformations for animations. So instead of you kind of using a lot of JavaScript and trying to move things around the screen in that sense, using CSS to ultimately give you animations is a cleaner, easier way to go about it. It can cause less cumulative layout shifts, but it also can be more advantageous on the speed side as well because you will not have as many scripts on the site, and then ultimately that can bog it down. So getting rid of JavaScript as much as possible will help speed things up, especially on the mobile side. All right, playing tag. So this is a very important aspect and something that pretty much marketers, business owners, whomever can really implement themselves. It's something that is a easy starting point for most people. This is meta and alt tags. These are little text areas that search engines like Google or Bing use to understand and really rank a page. It ultimately kind of guides them in understanding what the general topic is about. And especially on the image side, it's beneficial in two ways. That it helps describe the image to the search engine, but it also describes it to users that may need a screen reader or have images disabled for whatever purpose that may be. Maybe they'd have a harder time seeing, or it just takes up too much space on their screen, so because they have zoomed in text, so they might remove that image. So tips for removing tips for improving your meta and alt tags. So create always unique titles and descriptions. When you are creating a title for a page or a description, make sure it is including the keyword that you want to focus on. It should be prominent and it should be early on in the individual tag or title. So if you want to target something that is very specific, keep it early and keep it very prominent in the description and titles. Adding your meta descriptions. Your meta description is going to be for the page, and we'll show you here in a second. And then the alt tags are going to be more on the image side, but once again, that should be something that's describing what is on the image or in the image, but also something that really kind of also is beneficial for SEO purposes, because ultimately we kind of want to reinforce both things. So for the tag description and the title, obviously up here we have your page title, which is going to be, for this real estate side, it's going to be York, PA real estate homes. It's going to be obviously something that is descriptive of it. But we have York, PA as being the highlight, and then real estate next. So if your keyword was on the real estate side, this would be a good one. So obviously in the search term, we're looking for homes for sale. So that keyword in particular is right here. So it is in that prominent area where you can see, that's right at the end. It gives you the descriptor with the York, PA, so we know where it's targeting, but it is present there as well, which is probably why, along with the Zillow benefits that they have, some being such a large organization, it's going to be beneficial there that there will be ranked higher. But you can also see here, it also is repeated then very prominently in the search description, which is homes for sale in York, PA. So once again, reinforcing the location as well as the keyword. Then on the alt tag side of things, for an image, we have this image of what looks like probably a slice of pizza. So we have slice of pizza on a plate as our description for the alt tag. And what this does, once again, it's for the screen readers. You want it to be descriptive. You want to say what it is, but also you want to try to get those keywords in there. So if you're a pizzeria, obviously having the word pizza on your images is going to be beneficial. So you want to make sure that's on there. And obviously that's even the title of the image. So having that in there is good, but also you don't need to get into like a ton of detail. You don't need to describe everything. Really, you just want to make sure that people that are using screen readers are able to understand what's going on, while also talking to Google and such to make sure they know as well as what is being shown on the screen. Speaking of Google, the business profile for local businesses is huge. This is really what makes your business appear on Google Maps and those local search results. This is going to be probably the main source for many small businesses that just starting up, especially in the service side. People look up your name, this is where they're going to go to first. They're going to see it. Same with people that are owning like restaurants or locations that you want to visit. Google Business Profile is key to be updated and always be synced across all the different platforms that are available. So how can you make this better? So how can you improve it? Make sure you respond to reviews. Google actually will benefit and or give a benefit to companies that respond to reviews. Keep them professional. Don't yell at people. Don't rant about them, especially if they give you a bad review. Try to resolve their problem, and then ultimately, try to give some type of tip or helpful information that they can resolve it. Many times, too, people will reverse their reviews as well. So if you get a 2-star review, maybe it was just a small issue that needs to be fixed. You fix that issue, and then they'll give you an updated review that's maybe a 4 or 5-star to kind of mitigate that problem of having a low ranking. So always respond, good or bad, and once again, keep it professional, keep it constructive, and ultimately keep the goal in mind that you are trying to ultimately help people, make a better impression of your business, really. You upload high quality photos, so make sure you're covering all the main basics. So whether or not it's going to be people posting pictures of your inside of the building, exterior of the building, your team photos. We always like to see some culture pictures in there too. So, your team culture. What are you doing? Like, are you Halloween pictures, or are you decorating for the different holidays, or having fun as a team outing? Those type of photos can also really be really helpful. Mainly from a Google standpoint, it's a quality image of your team. It also shows a little bit about your company, and people, generally speaking, want to see those anymore. We don't like doing business with people, companies that are just this cold, sterile thing anymore. We want to do business with real human beings, whether or not that's just a business as a whole, or an individual person. And then a big one is ensuring NAP consistency across all platforms. This is outside of Google Business Profile, so whether or not you're listed on Yelp, or any other of the big names for business listings, your name, address, phone number should be consistent across them all. The only real exception to this, in my opinion, would be if you're using call tracking of some sort and you want to understand where like leads and calls are coming from. Then you may want to use a different phone number on the different platforms. However, it does come with that downside of things not being consistent, which once again, everything comes with a trade-off. You lose a little bit of tracking, but you also get that consistency across all platforms, so it's easier for people to navigate. The local listing side, so mentioning your business across all the different platforms is really key for local businesses. So if you're looking at Yelp, Bing, Yellow Pages, Apple Maps, there's actually about 40 or so different programs and softwares out there that'll list your business, especially depending on the niche you're in. All your industry trade magazines, or websites, so they're all very good listing places. But especially if you're a local like service or restaurant, or activity, hitting those big ones, the Yelp, Bing, Yellow Pages, Apple Maps, and Google, are of course going to be a big part of your local search presence. The next thing that we're trying to fix here, is the broken and unlinked pages. So pages on a website that are not working, these are called 4xx errors, or that's usually it's a 404 errors, the most common. So these are pages that don't work at all. And also it could be other things that maybe the page is not linked to another page of some sort on your website. These are generally speaking pretty easy to fix from the SEO standpoint. As if it's a 404 error, really you just got to figure out what the issue is, whether or not the domain URL has changed, or maybe the page was deleted. Now you just have to redirect it to another page that makes sense. Usually you can use a some type of 3xx redirect, which will either be a temporary or permanent redirect. Generally, if it's something that's going to be forever, you would just set up a permanent redirect. That way, people don't get a 404. But if that's not the case, then you can always adjust it later if you need be. So the other way of fixing kind of the broken link side, really if something's not working for some reason, so you may need just to update that URL. So something you might change like a category, so or like a sub domain essentially. So if you're changing your domains or you're changing the structure of your website, that is something that's very important to keep in mind, and make sure that everything is flowing to the proper pages, and those pages that aren't being no longer pointed to or updated to being redirected to another page. And then the internal linking, so this is going to be the ones that aren't, there are pages that aren't linked to anything currently. One way of doing this is really easily to improve it as by just linking them to something else, finding a way to link them to a relevant page, or kind of creating this customer journey that they can go from page one to the next page and then ultimately kind of work their way through all the different pages and making them interconnected, and ultimately providing more value for the customer as well as providing a better SEO experience for the search engine. This does not have to be done for every page. So if you have a dedicated landing page, say for your Facebook ads, don't worry about internally linking it. It's probably actually you don't want to do that. Same with like a thank you page. So if you have a page that gets triggered at the end that for tracking purposes of new leads, once again, that should not be internally linked because it doesn't make sense. But for most kind of content rich pages, you definitely want to have that internally linked. All right, so managing the gaps. So getting through to the competitor side, doing some adjustments in understanding what is being done on the competitor side. You can quickly look at this using a tool like SEMrush, Ahref, which is Ahref, or looking at like we've dabbled with like SE ranking. That's another one that's very similar to the other two. So you can use those type of softwares to identify missing keywords that you don't rank for, but maybe your competitors are. This will ultimately kind of show you the gaps that are missing on your SEO strategy. Don't take this as a 100% must do, because sometimes competitors will also be not in the right keywords as well. For instance, we've seen all kinds of keywords for different people being used where maybe they sell dried fruits, and they want to rank for dried pineapple, or something like that, but then people are ranking that they're writing blog posts and writing content around upside down pineapples and that definition and the history behind it, which true, I mean, that does get people that are looking for pineapples, but that's not the reason why they're coming there. They're not coming there to buy dried pineapples and dried fruits. They are coming there to learn about something completely different, that has nothing to do with dried fruits, and other foods in that same bulk area. So if your competitor is doing something like that, I mean, those are the times we kind of want to disregard that. Let them get some irrelevant traffic that's not going to necessarily convert, and ultimately focus on what's most important to you and your business. The big thing, how to kind of gauge this, is what are those high value keywords. So what are the keywords that are people looking for to kind of take action, and really ultimately lead to a purchase, sale, or lead in some way, shape, or form. One way you can do this is by creating actionable content. So creating content that's helpful in some way, or creates a next step that they can take. when you're writing helpful content or creating helpful content for people, obviously make it for humans, not for robots, especially anymore with AI. I mean, don't go out there trying just to answer what AI wants to see. Go out there to try to help people. That will ultimately be the long-term better strategy, no matter what happens as far as AI and how that kind of overview goes. Making it for humans, making it usable is going to be the best long-term strategy. The way you can do this is by answering questions. So go out there, find issues that people have, maybe with an industry that's relevant to yours, or some type of issue that's already going on in the industry, and just try to solve them. Solve that problem for them, provide helpful information, provide ways they can go about it, and ultimately that will be beneficial for SEO purposes. It'll build trust in the meantime, and really is going to be helpful actual content that will last a long time, not just something that you can put out there once and be just done with it, and it's not going to be something that's going to be a garbage quick article. So make sure, once again, answering relevant questions, be clear and relevant with your keywords, but also just be helpful. Always look for the helpful side of things. So when you're looking at keywords, what are the ideal keywords that you should be like targeting, or kind of exploring? They really get lumped into four main categories. The first one here is commercial. So we have commercial, informational, transactional, and navigational. Commercial keywords are going to be when people are more about shopping. They're looking to create or to make a purchase, but they are researching options. So this still could be actionable, but they're a little bit not yet ready to make a complete purchase, but they're well on their way. Informational is really, like I said, that answer side of things. So they're looking to have a question answered. These are going to be still very good traffic wise, as long as it's relevant traffic. But these are people that are looking for an answer to a question that you could actually help them with. So if you are a service business, this could be some type of common problem that people call you about. You could answer a brief part of that process, and then you'll drive traffic that'll be ultimately somebody that's in that same information bucket, but maybe they are also getting closer to the commercial side where they're looking to actually make a purchase. And then hopefully they'll make the jump to the transactional side, which is when they actually are ready to buy something, that's specific and they're trying to do it right now. So transactional is obviously the most valuable of the keywords, because they are people that are looking to make that purchase and they're looking to make that purchase today. So that is going to be the most sought after keyword type. Then lastly, we have navigational. So navigational here at the end is going to be things that are finding specific pages on a website. This could be just general navigation on a website, or maybe they just need information, or it could be a location-based navigation as well. So they're looking for your store. Some brief examples of what this really means. So from a perspective of buying a branded gift here. So if we're looking to buy something, you're looking to buy a branded gift, or you're looking for coffee flavors or an oil change near me. So you're obviously in the market for these products here. So whether or not it's the branded gift or coffee or oil change, you're obviously in the market. You have not decided who you're going to buy from necessarily, but you are looking. The informational side of things, you're looking to research something of some way, shape, or form. So it could be how to change oil. So in that oil change example, you're still not necessarily, you're looking to have this problem solved, but not necessarily looking for someone to do it, or maybe just need to learn how hard it is before you commit to actually doing it. Coffee calories would be another one for the happy coffee flavors. And then you could also be looking for homes for sale in York. So if you are kind of shopping around, but maybe you're, especially in this one, there's a very long tail for people to actually purchase a home. There's a lot of people that just go out there and just shop around. They like to check Zillow and see what is available out there. These informational keywords like this could be almost construed as commercial, but many times, especially for something like a home, people will just kind of look for information in general. Then we have the transactional. So this is looking, very precisely at what is going to be a purchase, or in this case, you could sell my home. So if you're someone that is looking for this, they're actively looking to complete this. Uh, Same with Starbucks. But now at this point, we are looking for a specific brand that sells coffee, and they're looking for it near me, or they're looking to take the action of scheduling an oil change. So instead of being just looking for oil changes near you, now you're actively looking to schedule it. So it's the additional intent there that makes the difference. Then you have things like navigational, which could be looking to log into a website of some sort, like the York College of Pennsylvania students, State Farm login, or maybe where is Jiffy Lube near you. So maybe you already made the appointment in this transactional side, but now you need to know where to go and make sure you're going to the right one. So you want to look it up here and get that navigation area. All right. Now we're looking into the right words. So when we were making keywords and kind of those titles and tags that we talked about earlier, really you're going to look at these to include a few things, especially for local businesses or places that are location based, or if they just have a higher target market area. For example, we work with companies that they sell across the entire United States, but they may have a majority of their business come from a certain segment of states or locations. So, kind of having location based keywords in those areas will ultimately help increase their SEO in that area, and ultimately help reinforce their brand. So, if you have a location, you're a location based business, almost always include that in some way, shape, or form. Um, do avoid keyword stuffing. So that means don't just throw the keyword in there a million times. Use some other relevant ways of saying it, or just mention it a few times. Make sure it is in the title, the headers. So if we're breaking down um, an article, you want to make sure that the very top little tag at the very top where it says the title of the page, that should include the keyword, and then also kind of work as you're working your way down with smaller from the header one, the header twos. Those should also include your keyword as well, at least a couple times. Not every single one has to do that. It can have variance, or it may not have it at all. But you should have some references there as well, because that once again will help Google, and all those other search platforms really understand that dynamic. So you have, once again, the very top one. So you have your header, which will be the biggest one. So in this case here, in the example we give, we have that title. So that would be one that needs to have the keyword in it. And then if you maybe have another header two, as it's referred to, where it would be, some type of subsection. So it may be, certain types of pavers in a garden, or a certain kind of garden. So like an above ground garden. So it could be, you could have a subsection of the same article that also references that keyword. Also be specific, but also try not to be too specific to your brand necessarily and be customer focused. So in this case here, our example is like why Waypoint is the best sealant for pavers. I mean, it does kind of tell you what it's going to be about. Obviously, it's about Waypoint and their sealants versus pavers, but it ultimately is going to be very niche. It's very we focused, whereas something like best sealants for pavers in a garden, that's going to be very customer focused. That's question focused. We're looking at people that are into gardening. They have pavers out throughout their garden, and they need to seal them to protect it against different elements or stains. So that's what we're going to be answering that question. We're not going to just tell you why this is the best, but we're going to, tell you the differences. What is important to those people that have gardens and pavers in their gardens. So really kind of once again focus on the customer side. If you can really bring that in, throw in some keywords, your SEO will slowly start to increase over time. There is, other more technical side of things too, but this is always a really good foundation. If you're helping people using the relevant keywords and your research backed, you should go pretty far with it. All right, the last little thing we're kind of going to touch on here is embracing video content. So videos are beneficial in a couple different ways. So videos keep users engaged on the site. So by having a video, the user will be on there longer, which is better for understanding, who is actually a valuable customer. But also you're providing more and more content in that sense that's good, will ultimately reinforce to Google and other search engines that you are being, helpful. So if they're staying there longer, you're providing value of some way, shape, or form, whether or not it's entertainment or even just instructional videos. That will be beneficial for Google as well as customers. Google in particular loves videos, especially if they're hosted on such a thing as like YouTube. Um, I'm sure there's not a bias at all that Google owns YouTube, but also YouTube in general is the second largest search engine out there. So you have regular Google and then you have YouTube. Those are the number one and two search engines. So having your videos listed on YouTube or other big platforms can really make a big difference. Last part here, it's kind of contradictory, where it's adding videos to your homepage or blogs. Like I said, this can kind of slow down your website, but you also, if you lazy load them later down the page, it can also increase the usability and the understanding of your customers, and also provide SEO value. The last benefit as well for video is you also get transcripts. So everything I am saying here is also being recorded. So now when we go back, take the transcripts, you can either upload this to YouTube. You can also upload it onto your website, maybe take it to create a blog post, or some other type of valuable content for people, kind of taking the different digestible areas and ultimately providing more value. So it kind of gives you a 2-for-1, where you get video content, which is highly ranked on YouTube and Google, but you also get the copy that goes along with it, all the words you said, that can be also used for additional content, whether it could even be social media, or your website. So it's another really good way of kind of taking what you already have and just stretching it further. All right. So that kind of wraps up us for today. I hope that you found something valuable out of all of this. I hope that you could learn at least a little bit of a tidbit for SEO, and hopefully this will help you along your journey. If you ever have any questions or you want to understand a little more about SEO or Google advertising or any type of marketing, I love talking marketing. So feel free to schedule a call with us. There'll be a link in the video, or send me an email. I love, once again, love solving problems, love working in the marketing realm. So if you have a problem or you're not growing the way you want to, or you're just not getting the brand awareness that you would like to see, give us a call, send us a text, send me an email, and we'll gladly kind of work through a strategy that would help you achieve your goals. Last but not least, next webinar we'll be doing is December 9th at 12 o'clock. So it'll be the lunch time webinar. This one, we're going to be talking about 2026 and what that year is going to bring in the world of marketing. So what are the trends that we expect to see in 2026, as well as how can you kind of best position your company and brand in 2026 to ultimately continue to grow and achieve those goals. So I hope you can join us on the 9th. We also will be continuing our Lunch and Learns in person here in York, starting in January as well. But in the meantime, I hope you have a great Thanksgiving, and we will see you all on December 9th. Have a good one.